On this week's show, we're going to look at a rebrand for Williams and preview the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hello and welcome to another episode of Back of the Grid. I'm your host Tom, and I'm joined as always by Chris.
Hello.
Hello. Are you rain dancing like I am for this weekend?
Very much hoping so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it tends to be one of the best Grand Prix weekends of the year anyway. And if we get some rain, that's only going to make things better.
Yeah, it's looking like we could as well, but we'll get to that. We will get to that. I think we've got news to cover. Let's do a little bit of news because there's some just wrappy up things from, I guess, the last week or so since Mexico.
Yeah.
That's worth wrapping up and confirming. And once we've covered that, we'll dig into the rain dance.
Yeah, a bit of sort of contract stuff to catch up on. The 2026 grid is still not entirely in place. One thing that we did get over the last few weeks, which I don't know if we ever actually talked about on the show, but Mercedes did finally confirm that Russell and Antonelli are going to be their drivers for next year.
Yeah, it kind of went a little bit under radar, didn't it? Considering how long it was all bubbling over for and all that talk of them trying to sign Max and Russell being out of the seat and all that stuff. It kind of just went a little bit under the radar of a deal's been done now.
Which kind of, it seemed like that had all gone away, but now it feels like the spectre of Max is still like looming over that situation a little bit. Because they were quite vague at the announcement about, I mean, they're always vague about contract lengths. They sort of did the usual non-specific multi-year. George Russell's now confirmed that basically he's not guaranteed a seat for 2027. There are performance clauses, like a certain target within his contract, and if he hits that target during 2026, he will then get a contract for 2027. But it's not a guaranteed thing. He said, I'm not being strung along. We're not going to be in the same position as we were 6 months ago. If I perform, and I don't want to go into details, but if I perform, then 100% I'll be staying. But it does still feel weird that they feel the need to have this kind of, like, I would say George Russell's definitely a top 5 driver this year. I think you can make a strong argument that he's been one of the top 3 drivers this year if you really want to push it. And for Mercedes to kind of still feel the need to have this get out just in case over it, it doesn't sort of, it's not a vote of confidence, is it? Like, I know they all have these clauses, but it's a weird one.
No, I'd be interested to know like what it entails as well, because if that car comes out next season and isn't competitive, like the first rendition of zero side pod ground effect car, I mean, surely the clauses must in some way back him up in terms of the performance of the car, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, or possibly
like,
in relation to Antonelli's points or something.
Yeah, like a teammate thing, because you can't realistically be saying you must win X races or achieve X podiums if the car is literally not capable of it. I mean, that's been very pessimistic about the Mercedes. Like, generally, even with the zero side pod travesty car, like, they were able to get somewhat close to podiums and stuff like that. And I don't think they went without podiums at all, even that season. So,
but then again, think of Hamilton this year. Like, I don't think anyone would have bet on Hamilton not picking up a single podium this year. And we're now 4 Grand Prix away from that being a possibility. Like, you just never know. So,
yeah. I mean, interesting stat that was being discussed in Discord over the week in between Mexico and now was the fact that I think it was said that this is the first season Hamilton will have less than 5 podiums.
That's crazy.
So even if he did manage to podium the final 4 races, it would still be his lowest ever podium tally for a season, which is a crazy stat.
It really is,
considering how long he's been in the sport. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, that's digressing.
Yeah. But that leaves us with 4 unconfirmed seats now for next year. One at Alpine, one at Red Bull, and then both RBs. Alpine, it looks like probably by this weekend, there's a good chance we're going to have Colapinto confirmed for that seat. I think given that this weekend's Grand Prix is the closest geographically to where he's from, there's going to be a lot of his fans there. That's probably good from a marketing point of view to announce it there. I mean, the whole Alpine seat situation has been weird all season. The word from sort of within the team is that Doohan had been told all along that he still had a route back in, and they were talking to him about possibly getting back in the car for the last 3 races of the season, funding dependent, and him and his team had managed to get the funding together. But Flavio Briatore, as he then tends to do, then just decided to close the door on that. Probably helped by the fact that Colapinto's main sponsor has extended their funding. So it looks like Colapinto's going to get another year in the car, or at least start another year in the car. Who knows with the way Briatore swaps things around. I don't know. It's hard to judge Colapinto this year, isn't it? Because that car is just awful. I mean,
it's a 2024 chassis with an underperforming engine. So, they might as well. I mean, saying they might as well not be on the grid might be a little bit harsh, actually, but it sort of feels that way, doesn't it? Like the way that they're performing at the minute, and it means they need results next season because it is very much all the eggs are going in that basket. They're scrapping their own power unit program and moving to being a Mercedes customer from next season. They've basically done nothing to the car and run the 2024 car as close as possible this season in order to focus the 2026 chassis. So it needs to come out of the gates challenging for decent points. Otherwise, it puts the whole thing in jeopardy, doesn't it? Like, I know they've looked at selling in recent years and things like that, and there's been talk of consortium buyouts of the Renault partition of the team and it completely changing hands and stuff like that. But it's if they don't start getting the results next season, even that, it probably puts things like that in jeopardy because who's going to want to buy a team that's performing like that season after season?
Gasly will almost certainly be gone if they don't perform next year either.
Which would be a shame because generally speaking, Gasly's a pretty solid midfield driver. I know we've seen that he struggled a little bit with the step up to Red Bull back in his time in that program.
It's a long time ago, now.
Yeah, I think that's a classic case of Red Bull throwing someone into the Red Bull seat alongside Max too soon. You've seen what it did to Albon, you've seen what it did to Gasly, and both are much better, more seasoned drivers now. They've been given the time to actually grow into the sport properly. So it would be a shame if Gasly wasn't around anymore. But hopefully everything comes together for them from next season. And it gives Colapinto a chance because he's always looked decent in junior Formula. Like we had good hopes for him coming into Formula One, but the car is just not in a place to let him showcase that, is it?
I mean, when we know Gasly's a decent driver, he's a racer and he's picked up podiums. When he's struggling as much as he is, it kind of, you can't expect much more from Colapinto really than he's been getting race result wise.
No, not really. Fingers crossed for a decent season, like I say, overall for them next year.
Obviously, it leaves Doohan in a tricky place. I was reading something earlier. Doohan's now not done a full season of racing since 2023 because that was his last F2 season, and since then he's been Alpine reserve, and then he obviously started this season and got however many rounds it was, not many.
3, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. He's not been in an F1 car since then. They're supposed to be giving him some previous machinery testing, and that's not materialized. He's supposedly barely been in the simulator as well. So he needs to get out of there, man. At this point, there's no route for him within Alpine. Supposedly,
he's find something else.
Supposedly, he's been speaking to the likes of Haas, Cadillac, Williams, Sauber about reserve roles and stuff. Unless Alpine want to sidestep him over to their WEC program, possibly. But
maybe
that's the only reason I think he should stay there at this point.
Yeah, I was being a little pessimistic. He got 6 races.
Oh, a whole 6.
He lasted until Miami, didn't he? Because Emilia Romagna, Imola was Colapinto's first
Right.
race, and
Okay.
he
Yeah.
crashed. He crashed it, if you
Yeah.
remember.
Of course he did.
So yeah.
And that leaves us with the remaining 3 seats at the 2 Red Bull teams. I've grabbed a bit of inbox here because it's appropriate. Wes actually sent this in. We're setting this in after the Austin weekend, but we've only just got around to asking it. So you'll understand why I mentioned that when you hear the question. He said, "Hey man, watching Yuki's post-sprint qualifying interview, who's getting this so wrong? Are Yuki's qualifying troubles his fault? His race engineer? It just seems like every weekend he's facing some sort of hurdle that shouldn't be there, and he's not getting over them." Obviously, we know Yuki's in the Red Bull until the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to see them keeping him beyond then as things currently stand. I mean, he's having a lot of trouble this season. A lot of it is stemming from qualifying. And it's weird because, like, you know, Red Bull are a competent team. Like, the other side of the garage is having none of these problems. Is that because Max is just leading the decision making and telling them what he wants, and Yuki's not doing that? Is it just, are the two sides of the garage that different? Or can he just not drive that car? Is that car just nowhere near as good as Max makes it look? It's so hard to tell still.
I mean, there's definitely always an element of that. I think you probably need a very specific driving style at the minute, like to get the best out of it, which Max has. Not many people can contend with that driving style. So there's not many people, therefore, on the grid that can contend with Max in that car. But yeah, I mean, when you look at it overall, like he's had sort of glimmery moments since the upgrades, but in the same time that he's been picking up, like, say, 6s and 7s, Max has been winning races.
Yeah.
So it's still like a big gap between the two of them. So even though the results are trending in the right direction for Yuki due to the changes, I think rather than upgrades, it was more like reverts, wasn't it? I think they sort of reverted back to an older package
because
they went backwards with something that had actually made the car worse. But yeah, regardless, it seems to have helped, but that gap's still a pretty big one. And when you look at like what Max did in that last stint in Mexico, for example, on those soft tires, like Yuki didn't get any points. It just makes you wonder. I feel for Isaac Hadjar in all this situation because there's all this talk around him taking the seat. There's been a lot of rumours circulating of Yuki going to IndyCar with one of the Honda-powered teams. I forgot which one it was now. Do you remember which team it was?
I can't.
I forgot. I know there was a Honda connection anyway, which sort of made sense with Red Bull, obviously, fully going RB powertrains next season. That's the official debut of that, isn't it? And the sort of stop of the Honda partnership. So honestly, as it stands at the minute, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised to see Yuki go across to IndyCar with that Honda partnership. The thing that's been kind of rumored. I think he'd probably fit in quite well over there.
I think he would as well.
To be brutally honest with you, I think it'd work out for him over there, and then probably end up seeing Isaac Hadjar get promoted up into the Red Bull, which I don't know how I feel about that because it just feels like a tainted seat that ruins people.
The same mistake yet again.
And then you'd probably get like Lindblad or somebody coming up into the RB and driving alongside Lawson.
Yeah, I mean, Lindblad was in Max's car in FP1 in Mexico. And he did well. Like he finished 6th, which was about a 10th ahead of Yuki's best time. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying he had a bit of a glory run on softs at the end that Yuki didn't have. So it's not necessarily representative, but like all things told, he put in a decent performance. Like his F2 season's been kind of underwhelming, but as we've discussed before, like F2 results are only one thing on a massive list of stuff that F1 teams are looking at for their drivers. So I don't think that necessarily disqualifies him. But yeah, I think that's probably the most likely setup as things currently stand.
It's looking that way, isn't it?
Yeah. Sticking with the 2026 theme, a bit of slightly odd news that's come sort of out of the blue today. Williams have announced that in 2026 they are having a bit of a rebrand, which doesn't sound like the most exciting news. For what it's worth, they're changing their name from Atlassian Williams Racing to Atlassian Williams F1 Team.
Okay.
Sure. But more significantly, they are also changing their logo, and they're basically bringing back the Williams logo that was used in like the very earliest years in the 70s and 80s, and then they used it for a few years in the 90s as well. And it's the sort of Williams with the sort of slanted W that's kind of got a hint of a 1 a little bit in the edge of it. It's very cool. It's very 80s, 90s vibe, but it's cool. Like it looks cool, and it's nice to have a bit of nostalgia for such like an old team. But I think it also, the fear was always when this team was sold that it would lose its identity, and I think this just reinforces that the people in charge of this team aren't just trying to, make some money out of it or like turn into something else. Like, they respect what that team is and the history of it, and they're like sticking with that, which is really good, because it would be such a shame for that name to kind of get diluted and disappear.
Yeah, I think, like, although it's not a huge change, it's at least a moderately positive one.
It's
I'm
meaningful.
Interested to know what they like do with merch and things like that going forward. It'd be nice to see that.
Because this year they've done like a little bit of like retro merch, I think, this year, Williams. So
yeah,
it'd be cool to see a bit more of that for sure.
I can't remember if any of it's used that W though. I mean, maybe this is a little bit of a thing that's peaked it, like
possibly, yeah.
Because some of the more retro caps and T-shirts and whatever else they've done over the last like 2 seasons, like 2024 and this season, they've, as far as I've ever seen, they've probably done quite well in terms of people picking them up, because they're nice, like casual bits of merchandise that you can wear day in, day out, but still be properly representing the team. It's like they're like an interesting night. I mean, don't get me wrong, like lots of other teams do it well, but I feel like there was a little bit of a rush for some of the Williams retro stuff. So much so that like you'd go pick up a piece of it and it had already sold out.
Yeah.
Like, it was a hot commodity for them. So maybe they've seen something in that of people like that element of history being showcased and want to sort of bring it back more into just the general look and style of the team.
There's a line of Puma sort of blue and yellow retro stuff. Yeah. It's not exactly this logo, but it's like it's hinting more towards it. That's that style. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to see more of that.
There's like some sort of, I'll use the word soccer just for the global audience, but there's like some soccer style jersey type tops, like with a like a collar and a buttoned like top quarter and stuff like that kind of look like 90s football soccer shirts.
They're a bit like this is a bit of a deep cut, but they remind me of the England Euro 96 away kit.
Yeah, I knew exactly what you were going to. That's what I thought when I saw it. But yeah, like I like those vibes. Like, I think it's a nice way to kind of nod to the nostalgia of the team being around as long as it has without being preachy. So I'm here for it. Like, it's not a huge change, but it's a nice one nonetheless.
I still, on a related note, I still think very strongly that probably for Monaco, F1 should copy what NASCAR do and have a NASCAR call it a throwback weekend, where basically every team turns up with some kind of like retro throwback livery just for that one weekend. It feels like such a missed opportunity for F1 to like a lot of teams do it off their own back, but I think if the whole sport embraced something like that, it'd be so cool.
It probably would work quite well. Like you see it a lot in all the American franchise sports. Like the NHL have retro jersey weekends. I can't remember what they call it. I think they might just be called retro jerseys. Um, the NFL have like the color rush and the rivalry jerseys
Yeah,
and so on and so forth. Like they have different themed jerseys. You've got I don't know if actually the MLS do anything like that. They probably do,
yeah,
but like you've got I mean all the NBA teams as well. All the NBA teams have like a retro style jersey. I can't remember. Oh no, City Edition. They have City Edition where it's like, but again, it's a theme that's a certain weeks of the season we're going to wear this jersey, and it's like a nod to the culture of the city where the team is, or an old color scheme that's maybe not seen as much anymore,
yeah.
or an old variant, or whatever it might be, and it nods to that history of the team. And they're always pretty nice across those sports. So yeah, it would be nice to like have F1 have a similar race weekend where you get the I don't know the canon yellow, white, and blue Williams rocks out. I mean, there might even be an element of does next year's livery sort of have those kind of
Well, yeah,
vibes
that's
to it,
true. Is this a hint
or
at
like
that?
a change in that direction. I mean, obviously, some teams are not going to look that much different, like your Ferraris. It's
Yeah,
just going to be red with some black wings, most likely. But
Cadillac will struggle.
it, yeah. But I mean, like I said, I'm here for stuff like that. Just as a we like the cars to look good as well as perform.
Yeah.
So
But even then,
yeah,
like
stuff like
Cadillac could
that's
just
cool.
find like another classic racing car they've run in another series and use that. Like there's
Yeah,
so much opportunity there.
definitely.
Um, a sort of bit of weird news to finish up with here, but there's basically one quote I wanted to read out here, which is why I've included this. We spoke ages ago about Felipe Massa bringing legal action against Bernie Ecclestone F1 and the FIA over Crashgate, and his argument that because there was a cover up of that and they potentially knew about it, Massa lost out on the title and lost out on future earnings, blah blah blah. He's seeking damages of £64 million in a court in London. They've now had like an initial 3 days in court, and it's kind of suspended now. While I'm no legal expert. My understanding is the judge is now deciding if there's enough merit in this case for it to even continue. Um, I say merit in the case because all of the Ecclestone F1 FIA lawyers basically said this is nonsense. Why are we even here? My favourite bit is the FIA's lawyer who said Massa's claim is as tortuous as it is overly ambitious and conspicuously overlooks a catalogue of his own errors, which is hilarious but also completely accurate. Like, I mean, I'm amazed it's even got this far. It feels like such a non-starter when, and like another one of the lawyers pointed out, you can't say that Lewis Hamilton gained from that because he was in the same race where the crash
Yeah,
happened. Like it's not like it makes no
yeah.
sense.
Do you know it's a weird one because for whatever reason I sort of forget that Crashgate was that season
Mm,
because Alonso was like fifth in the title. It's not like it was a season where he was like really up there with them. He
yeah,
was like 20 or 30 points behind them by the end of it. So I don't know. It's just for some reason in my head, Crashgate happened in like a season that Alonso was closer to the front,
no,
and it wasn't. So like, if it had been Crashgate was a McLaren thing, and it obviously benefited Lewis to win that race because
yeah,
obviously it got Fernando the win, didn't it? Ultimately, like that was the whole controversy. Is it essentially caused a safety car and got Fernando his win, but I think Massa was already out of the race at that point, or he was at least out of the points. Like it feels like
I
it's not
think
like he was aggrieved of. Well, I could get my win because I was second behind Alonso and it stopped me winning the race. Like he was nowhere near
yeah.
him. Like,
I think he was already
it
out the
just
points, and then he drove out the pit lane with the fuel hose still attached,
fuel
and that
hose. That
drops him
was
even further out of the points.
yeah. So
Such a
like it just
non-starter.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
I mean yeah. I don't think it'll go very far,
I
but
just hope for his sake that he's not like plugging too much of his own money into this and ends up coming out of the whole thing even worse than he was, because whoever's like advising him to go down this route, it feels misguided. But
yeah, I'd agree.
I imagine that's going to be all shut down very quickly.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the scene of the end of that championship where he lost the title. In what was a very rainy Brazil back then, and he's looking like it's going to be a very rainy Brazil this weekend as well.
Yeah.
All weekend there's rain forecast. Saturday in particular, which is the sprint race and qualifying, is looking at, I think it's like 75% chance of rain last time I looked. Yeah. Which is very exciting. And to kind of go into storylines, it's interesting from a championship point of view, because I think under normal circumstances, you'd look at this circuit as one where the McLaren car in the dry should dominate, you would think, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think this is like one of those that's a little bit of a driver's circuit, I think. It's one of those where a driver can make a difference, especially if that weather does turn onto the wet side. 100% it is. But yeah, I feel like you do sometimes see drivers kind of in machinery that wouldn't normally compete getting a little bit equalised here and being able to get the best out of it. Like, we've seen some unexpected, let's say, sort of pole positions and really good qualifying performances, and even like race results. Like, this is the scene of the last decent Alpine result, is it not?
Yeah, second and third last year.
So, like, just results like that, which, yeah, fair enough. Some of it comes down to things like safety cars helping teams and whatever. But I do think there's an element of, it's one of those kind of circuits where the driver can make a bit of a difference because of the kind of circuit it is. So, yeah, I think that combined with the weather, you're going to see the McLaren. I mean, there's an argument saying the McLaren isn't actually the fastest car right now, depending on how you look at it, depending on the circuit you're at. So I think it's going to be quite close between the likes of Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, and Max. Sorry, Yuki.
Yeah, it's like, if Max is still going to stay in this championship fight, he needs like some unusual things to really help him close that gap. And you can see a situation where it rains and he puts on another masterclass. Because like
100%.
Last year at this point, we were all like, oh, is Norris going to be able to close this gap down? And Brazil was the race where Max just stamped his authority back on the championship when he was kind of all over at that point. So yeah, like a bit of rain could really like tighten things up again. I mean, if it is dry, I probably would put money on McLaren being a good distance ahead. Which of the two drivers that is, I don't know. Like, Piastri's really in need of a result now. Like, the leader swapped. Norris put it on pole and he won the sprint race last year.
I think we're in a little bit of a scenario where this back run probably leans a little bit more to Norris, just historically speaking. Because like you say, when you look at the likes of here, I think Norris had the better result. And obviously he won in Abu Dhabi, didn't he? So, like, there's a few races here that lean definitely more in his favour. Trying to remember what Piastri did. I'm pretty sure he was behind
in Brazil last year.
In Brazil, like they were 1-2 in the sprint, weren't they?
1-2 in the sprint. Piastri qualified first in the sprint, but Norris beat him in the race, and then Piastri went out in Q2, I think, in the race qualifying. Oh no, he didn't. He was in Q3, but he was down in 8th, and then he finished. Where did he finish? He finished 8th as well, yeah. And Norris dropped from pole down to 6th.
Yeah,
because he had a spin or two, I think.
Although, having said that, actually, Piastri got a podium in Qatar, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He won the sprint there as well, I think. Or
Yeah,
was that the
so
year
like,
before? I don't know.
no, that was the same
Yeah.
year, I think, yeah. Because we've got the same scenario again this year. We've got a sprint
Yes.
weekend Brazil and then a sprint weekend Qatar to see out the season. Like the run out is exactly the same as it was last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you're making me pick between the McLaren drivers for Brazil, I'm probably going to lean to Norris. So I think it's them. But I honestly, even if it's dry, I can't see past Max here because
Really?
he is just he's always had really strong results in Brazil. And I think that sort of leans back into my previous point of like, if you think about some of the really great drives we've seen Vettel come through the field here, we've seen Hamilton come through the field here, we've seen Verstappen come through the field here. It's not that big a circuit. It's not got huge overtaking opportunities, yet all three of these top tier multi-world champion drivers have gone from essentially the back of the pack to win races here and or at minimum finished on podiums and stuff like that. So I think when I look, this is why it's those kind of performances that make me feel it's the driver circuit where the driver can make a difference. And Max has got an opportunity to be like one of the biggest upsets to McLaren history ever, I think. Like, if Max can actually close that gap and take it all the way to Abu Dhabi and, dare I say, win the whole thing, that must probably be the biggest upset in McLaren's history.
Oh,
I can't think of a time. Like, I mean, even like the whole Senna-Prost debacle, like, at least they were still winning the title with one of the drivers. Yeah. Like, they had that scenario, but they still won it at least. If Max comes along and takes it from him, I think this is like a bigger screw up for them than what they let Prost.
It would be like the biggest bottle in F1 history for
I think
sure.
so. It's got to be up there. I think the only other one close is Kimi sneaking his way into 2007 in a similar fashion.
Yeah, like, also against two number one McLaren drivers.
Yeah. So I mean that might be the other one for them. Is 2007.
Yeah,
that might be the other one to compare it to.
I mean the whole like the fact that this is a circuit that tends to throw up weird results could be really significant for the rest of the constructors as well. As you mentioned last year, we had Alpine pops up second and third. And I think I read earlier they did something like they quadrupled their points total for the year in a single race last year.
Crazy.
And when we've got like the teams in 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th are covered by 12 points at the moment, like any one of them with a good result could take a massive stride forward. So yeah, very significant race this weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we try and predict it?
Yeah, let's move this into predictions. So for those of you who might be newer to listening or haven't been with us as long, we run a predictions league where we'll make 5 different predictions for the race weekend and you can play along at home with us. So if you head to backofthegrid.com, at this point the predictions league will be open, so you'll be able to take a look at it and you'll be able to essentially judge mine and Chris's choices inferior and make your own choices. Even if you're not played before, though, it is worth playing because if you can score 5 out of 5 and get a perfect weekend, there is a prize for doing so. So always worth entering, even though we only have a few races left. So get on there, and all the rules and stuff are on there and the previous results, so you can kind of get a feel for how it works. But Chris and I will be going through the 5 categories now and making our own predictions. So fastest in Q3, Chris. I mean, it sounded like you were leaning more towards the McLarens, but that might be if you're banking on it being dry. Where are you going to go with this?
Based on the fact that there's a good chance it's going to be wet for qualifying, I am going to go for Max.
Okay. Well, I am also doing the same. To then move into the race winner category, I am going with a double Verstappen here. So regardless of his wet, I think he's just got what it takes to win here. So I'm sticking with Max regardless. What about you?
I'm going to go Norris.
Okay. What about first DNF?
First DNF. Brazil in the wet feels like a rookie, so I will go. I'll do the old 0 to 0. I'll say Behrman.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going. So you're going for one of those classics. My classic is as close as possible to a home driver, and that's Franco Colapinto.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Colapinto. Number of finishes. How are you feeling about that one?
Again, based on previous years, I'm going to go low. I'm going to go 15 this week.
Okay, I'm thinking a little bit more optimistic and saying 16 for me. So similar sort of lines, especially if it does end up being wet. there could be spins, and I mean, we had one car not even make it to the grid due to the wet.
Yeah, that's true.
But less of that, the better. Right, and random driver for this week, we have Carlos Sainz. For clarity, for those who are regular, everyone's back in the pot now.
Of course, yeah.
We've had 20 races and we've used every driver, so everyone's got back in the pot, and that is why, if you're thinking we've had Carlos Sainz already this season, that's why. So everyone's back in, but then Carlos is now out for the next 3 races after this one. That's how it'll work. Anyway, Carlos Sainz finishing position. I'm going to lean into my bit of a driver's circuit, someone who can make a difference in the weather. We've seen a fairly decent return to form for Carlos. I'm going to say okay points in 8th. So I'm going to go with that.
That's kind of what I was thinking as well. I'll say 9th.
9th, okay.
But I think, yeah, there or thereabouts.
Okay. So that's us. As I said before, if you want to get involved, head to backofthegrid.com. Normally, the predictions would close as Q1 starts for qualifying on Saturday, but with it being a sprint race, it will close on Friday in sprint qualifying. So please make sure you get your predictions in nice and early and don't miss out on that slightly early deadline with it being a sprint weekend. The exact time is, I believe, 6:30 UK, I want to say.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
So convert that to your local time. But yes, sprint quali is when predictions will close, so make sure you have them in before that on Friday. Right, one last bit of inbox, I think, to see us out this week.
Yes.
Keep it saying now. No, stay out. Box. Hey, man.
Eugene Risto says, rain in Brazil could blow the championship well and truly into a 3-way fight, because for those who remember Max's masterclass from last year when he started 16th and won, do McLaren finally deploy team orders if it warrants it, though? And will they do that or continue to be very blasé about their whole situation and ultimately let Max back in the title fight for real?
I mean, they won't, will they? Whether they should or not is a different question. But I don't think for a second they will. I think they'll wait until it's mathematically impossible for one of them, which realistically isn't going to happen until... it's not going to happen, is it? They're both going to be in contention in Abu Dhabi. And honestly, at this point, could they really do that? I
think they've unfortunately made a bed for themselves that they have to lie in, and it's at a point where there's 1 point between the two of them, so it's not even like there's a gap that, like, if it was still, I don't know, a 30-point gap or something like that, where one driver had like more than a race advantage and Max was about to jump the guy in second that was 30 points behind the guy in first. If that was the situation, then you could see them maybe leaning towards team orders. But they've bred this situation that has led to them being a point between the two drivers. I mean, it's great for a title fight to have 1 point in it at this point at the season, and Max is, 36 behind
something
first
like that,
as well. So it's it's great for us as spectators to see it boiling down to this, but
yeah, you can't.
I think there's a bit of like foolish bullheadedness from McLaren of it doesn't matter because he won't catch us. It doesn't matter, one of them's going to win it, and that's going to be the biggest mistake of the lot, is being that bullish about we will win, we will do it. Like, all it takes is them going into turn one into each other and taking each other out, and that's 25 points for Max right there, pretty much. Like, yeah.
But yeah,
and then what does that leave you as a gap? 9 points, and if he's won the sprint, that's another 8.
It's coming in very quickly. But yeah, I mean,
it could be in touching distance by the end of this weekend.
When your drivers are a point apart, you can't start telling one of them, "Oh, sorry, you're 1 point behind. You're not in the fight anymore." Like, it's not going to happen, is it? So,
nope.
They're really, really going to have to ace these last 4 races to make sure they get the title that they really need to be winning under the circumstances.
Yeah, it's crazy. It
really is.
Well, that is that for this week, and that is us for the preview. So thank you very much to all of those who have joined us. Thank you very much to our Discord community who join us live for these episodes. If you want to find out how to get to be a part of that, head to patreon.com/back of the grid, where you can find out all the information for that. If you want to get in touch with us generally on social media about the episode, or to submit inbox for the future episodes, whatever it might be, just look up Back of the Grid F1 across all the social media platforms. And if you're here on YouTube with the video format, then please do remember to do the whole like and subscribe thing. And if you leave a comment in the comment section for this video, there's like a bit of an inbox for the next one. We'll always try and pick things like that up from comments, or at least drop your reply and maybe answer it through the comments. So be sure to let us know what you're thinking down there in the comments. That is it for this week. We will be back in a week's time to review what happens in Brazil, as well as a little bit of a preview. Is it a preview, or is there a week off?
I think we get
there's a week off.
A week off, yes.
So it'll just be a review next week. And we'll break. Oh, yeah. Oh,
I was going to mention as well, if you want a bit more motorsport this weekend, it's also the final round of the World Endurance Championship in Bahrain this weekend. And I believe Ferrari, Porsche, and Cadillac are all still in with a chance of winning the constructors and drivers titles. So that's well worth a watch if you.
Yeah, a very, very sad day for this podcast, as it will be Jenson Button's final ever competitive motorsport event.
Yeah, which is sad, and I really hope he can have a good one. I mean, he's never got a WEC win. I'd love to see him do that, but at the very least, I'd like to see him on the podium.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, we'll be back next week to review Brazil. So bye, everyone.
Bye.